Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Chris Lopez here, and today's webinar is everything you need to know about the Denver rental licensing. So this is something that many landlords have known about for a long time coming, but very few have done it. Investors are behind the ball, I would say. Agents are behind the ball. Lots of opportunity to go out there and make sure you get this done by the end of the year. So to go through this topic here, I brought on an amazing guest, Andy Rhodes, who's going to tell us everything we know about Denver rental applications.
Thanks, Chris. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here. So, of course, as we dive into here, I will give you a quick disclaimer that we're not giving you legal, accounting, tax, or financial advice, anything like that. Always consult your professional team. But I wanted to bring Andy on here because, we did a webinar on this back in like some September, October timeframe. We're still very early on. And I think, the rollout was very, very new and poorly implemented. But we had tons of questions on there from people. We had hundreds of people watch the webinar, lots of questions, and also lots of confusion. And even back then, we had an investor who did a great job of doing it. We had a property manager who was starting to do some stuff, but even they were very confused. And one thing that made me so excited to get you in the studio is you did almost 4,000 multifamilies last year. And so what happens when you have repetition? You get really good at things. You see patterns. And plus, you were telling me some of the names of the multifamily property management companies and investment groups you're working for. These are the top tier companies around town, and they hire people that are efficient, have systems in place, and it's the only way you go out there and compete at that level. So we get all this knowledge, all this reps, all this systematized approach that the big commercial people get. And so we get that with Andy and CCI to come talk to us about Denver rental apps today. So that's why I'm excited to have you on here, Andy.
Chris, thanks. I think you're absolutely right. Going back to the rollout, there was not only a lot of confusion, there was a lot of misinformation about it. There was also a lot of changes that came about. So in dealing with those clients, because the clients that we handled, they're pretty demanding. They have a lot of property, and they also had a lot of issues. So the role that I got to play was taking those back to the city of Denver and really trying to work on some common sense edits to what they were requesting and making sure that as this is rolled out, we edited the process to make it a lot smoother for landlords, made it smoother for our larger clients. The whole goal was to make it smoother for our single family clients as well, because the big boys, right? They do something 1,000 times, like you said, they know what they're doing. A lot of us have 1, 2, 5 rental properties. Property managers, you may have more.
I hope they have more.
Right? I hope so, right? It's still not enough to get really proficient at it.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what we bring to the table is we did do over 4,000. That was last year. So we did that in a 4-month period. This year, we're already over 1,000. We know what we're doing. We built a system around it. And then I actually built the whole company around rental inspections.
So we're going to dive into a lot of this today. As we go through here, please ask questions. Love having interactions here in the group chat here. So let me know if you own properties in Denver, and if you do, who has actually passed the rental inspection? Give me a 1 out of 1, 3 out of 3. How many properties do you have, and how many have you passed? Let's take an informal poll on there. So today's agenda, we're going to go through a little bit of the history of the ordinance, why it came about and the purpose of it, how it is being implemented, what information Denver wants to see. And again, this is only for Denver County and Denver City, not the whole Denver MSA. So what does Denver want? Moving forward, what you need to do in terms of next steps. And then what Andy and CCI do in terms of creating inspection reports that go above and beyond what Denver requires and other inspectors are doing as well. So some good CYA and extra value there as well. All right, so drop in any comments or questions you have, and let us know where you're at, any issues you're having right now, and we'll make sure we weave those into the presentation today. All right, so Mr. Rhodes, the history of this ordinance. Why and when?
So this started, I want to go back to even pre-COVID. They started putting together some task force. I'm sure that a lot of you have watched the news and you've heard what Denver has put out there about saying only 1% of landlords have complied. The numbers have been very dismal. Here's a secret. The numbers were actually a lot better than what Denver was reporting because Denver doesn't know. So how do you measure something that you don't know? You enact an ordinance so we can figure out how many landlords we have. The first guess of 25,000 multi-landlords, that was way, way high. They said we have 25,000 single-family rentals. That's way, way low. Somewhere in the middle is the truth. As I was told repeatedly, the only way we know how many we have is to enact this ordinance and go through the process.
Really?
I think Denver and certain proponents of this, Stacey Gilmore on city council, she won a re-election campaign. I am a huge fan of Stacey. I think she really wanted to put this in place to bring the standard up, right? And I think that we can all agree some property owners are not as great as other ones, right?
No,
and
there's definitely slumlords out there.
Right. I'm glad you said it. I try to be neutral because a lot of them become our clients, right? And we try to work them up and get them to improve habitability, right?
Slumlords don't attend webinars and podcasts on how to invest and work with tenants. So I know our landlords and agents on here are in the other 98%. So
see, you guys are already winning. So it was twofold, right? How do we know what we have so that Denver can kind of gauge it? There's a lot of talk about affordable housing. There's a lot of talk about housing stock. And this was just another tool, I think, in Denver's long-term strategy of before we can make policy or change things, we have to know what we have. We have to know the basis.
Yep.
Challenge, right? How do you roll out a program that didn't come with funding at the front and had a very small staff of people?
Poorly.
The answer is not well. I think Denver's done well at overcoming some hiccups. They did go back to city council. They did get some more budget. They did get some more enforcement powers. And I think that they've worked through quite a few hiccups. However, if the number of single-family residential rentals is what I think it is, between 40 and 50,000, and everybody waits till November, December this year to get their inspections, Denver's not going to be approving licenses for a very long time because there's going to be that backlog. And I have clients right now who did inspections back in October, submitted stuff, and have just finally started getting their licenses approved.
Oh, so 5-6 months later, huh?
It can take a while. And then that's part of what we're going to talk about later is what are the steps you can take right now to make sure it gets approved faster so you don't have to start again. You don't have to redo. You don't have to go and pull your hair out because our team at CCI has really tried to do all the homework for you. The one tips and tricks sheet that we'll send to you if you'll email us later on in the webinar, we'll give you an email. If you ask for it, it took my team 9 hours of watching different videos just to compile this tips and tricks of how to actually apply for the license.
Oh, great. I'll share that here in a few minutes in the webinar too. I meant to upload before. Cool. Well, we've got a lot of questions coming in, questions and comments. A lot of people own long-term rentals. A lot have not been licensed, and they're also not slumlords. Yes, I agree with you guys out there. Some interesting ones here that stand out. One has a current primary that they'll turn to a rental. So what do they need to do for that? And then someone has some properties in Denver and in Boulder. The Boulder properties are licensed and curious about what the differences are between Boulder and Denver. So yeah, we got a good group in here. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, keep posting questions and comments in there. And one thing I want to talk about here as we dive into it is I'm here on the Envision Advisor side talking about how landlords go out there and build wealth in real estate and implementing this type of, making sure that you're following the rules is a very important thing. But as always, anytime you're looking at your properties, always a great time to come back and let's review your business plan. Let's come do a portfolio analysis and talk about it. Because there's definitely some scenarios where it makes sense to sell a property or reposition the equity or update rents. But we'd love to help you sit down and figure out the best use of the property, of course, while you're getting licensed with Andy and his CCI team. All right. So how is this being implemented? I know multifamilies were last year, single families this year, but what's the real plan? What's the dates and deadlines?
So if you owned more than 2 units at one location or one address, you you're behind and you don't have a license, you're late. You're like really, really late. Don't worry, there's not a lot of fines on it. We can help you get it done. You were supposed to have your license by January 1, 2023.
For all multifamily.
That was
right?
all multifamily.
And
And
duplex and up.
exactly. Denver classified it. That was part of some of the confusion, right? They said if you have 2 or more units in an address, so you could have a unit on the first floor and you could have a unit, you could have the penthouse, right? And they called that a multifamily license.
So even if it was like an ADU, like an accessory dwelling?
Exactly.
Oh, really?
So if you have a primary and that's rented to one group, you have an ADU in the back that's rented to a different, that's multifamily. Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Does it make sense? I don't know, but that's what they did.
Well, no, because no one else classifies it that way. Well.
So they started with multifamily. Those were some of those real large clients that we did. We had one client, we had to do almost 2,000 inspections to their entire portfolio. It was a little bit less than that. I think it was 1,500. They wanted to get all of those, I think, to get the whole process done. Right now, we're in the heat of single family residential. So everybody that has one or multiple at different addresses, those are all single family.
Okay.
Each one of those needs an inspection. So on the multifamily, if you had 10 at one location, you only needed one inspection. You only had to inspect 1 or 10%. On the single family, there is no 10% rule. So every single family home in your portfolio needs to get an inspection. And then ongoing. So we did have someone wrote in about Boulder, right? Boulder's program's been going on for over a decade.
Yeah, I don't know the details of it.
Boulder's got 2 components to their inspection process. They've got the actual inspection, and then they also have an energy audit or I just lost the...
Like energy efficiency or...
Yeah, it's an energy efficiency. It's 2 separate things. You need to be qualified to do the inspection on each.
Okay.
One is normally at the beginning, and you don't have to redo it unless you make some drastic changes. The other thing is it's in every... the other one, every single unit in Boulder has to get inspected. So we also handle a lot of those Boulder inspections. We're doing
you're
them
up there too?
We're doing it for a lot of our larger commercial clients as well. Boulder's checklist is a lot longer than Denver's checklist. Let me hit back to single family in Denver. So ongoing, if a property changes ownership, you need to get a new license. So if you have 5, you sell one, you buy another, then the one you buy needs to have a new license.
So if I sell my rental that's been inspected and I got licensed, I sell it to Jules. Jules buys it. Jules has to get it inspected and a license.
She needs a new inspection and a new license. And we'll cover that a little bit later, but part of what Denver's asking for is a lot of ownership information because they want to track who our owners are.
Yeah. And so something here, this is actually something when Andy and I were having coffee a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about that. And he was like, hey, one of the things that he's doing at CCI is when they're doing a routine home inspection for a rental property or potential rental property, they're going ahead and doing that inspection as well, because obviously they're already out there. So there's some, cost and time savings there. But also then as someone buying that property, hey, where it stands and what issues they have, and maybe some more things doing the inspection on them as well. So we actually update our internal SOPs to make sure that we're recommending that, following that. And other investors out there or agents watching this, add that to your checklist as well this year to do the rental inspection, I guess, going forward now with any Denver property.
Anything that you intend to turn into a rental property within a year of acquisition, I would highly recommend we do them both at the same time. Number 1, we can save you some money. Number 2, we can point out anything that you may want to do before you either put tenants in it or make any changes at the property. Special note here, and I think we had it coming up, and that is a very, very important thing is that not every home inspector is qualified to do a rental inspection. Denver put some very, very specific guidelines on who they allow to do rental inspections. Basically, they have to be a certified home inspector, and those most of us are familiar with InterNACHI or the different associations are home inspectors that certify them. In addition to that, you have to have an R5 or a C5 license. Those are the International Code Council. Those are a series of tests. There's 4 tests in each one. The books, the study books that our guys had to go through, I mean, they're very, very thick. It's a real time commitment, and they have a much more thorough understanding of what they're looking at. And I think the reason Denver did that was they just wanted to provide that extra level of credibility to who's out there doing these rental inspections. So if you're hiring a home inspector and you're purchasing this a new property with the intent to use it as a rental, that's a great question to ask. Are you qualified to do rental inspections with the city of Denver? And can you do both at the same time?
Yeah.
If you call CCI, we can do both at the same time. I can give you a great deal on doing both. And all of our inspectors right now are qualified to do both of those.
Oh, I love it. So we got a couple questions in here. Got some questions about compliance and egress. We'll get in the details here in a couple minutes. Matthew Leary says, what about Inglewood? Inglewood's not in Denver.
Inglewood's not in Denver. Now, I got good news, bad news, right? There's a whole bunch of copycat discussions going on.
That always happens, though.
Fort Collins is looking at it. Fort Collins, and I quote, "We don't want to create an independent market for inspectors. So if you own rentals in Fort Collins, congratulations. The city's going to do it for you and send you a very big bill."
Oh, this goes back to question earlier. So Ronald says, if I have 3 units at one address, does that mean only 1 unit needs to be inspected or all 3?
That means only 1 unit needs to be inspected because the city looks at that as a multifamily operation on 1 parcel. And the great news is we only need to come and inspect 1. Bad news, you don't get to pick the one. We have a unit randomizer. So you'll call in, you'll say, hey, I've got 3 at 1 unit or 3 at 1 property address. We put it in there and we say, cool, we're going to do A, B, or C.
Oh, you put all 3 in your software and
exactly.
then it tells your inspector which one to go inspect?
So in the ordinance, there were some rules, right? Third-party inspector, which means if I own them all, I can't inspect my own property.
Yep, that's a good rule.
If you're a management company, you can inspect all the ones you manage. So it has to be independent. Second one, you have to use a randomizer in order to pick units in the multifamily space. It's been really interesting to figure out this particular property uses letters. This one uses numbers, and there's no organization to it. My team, they're a lot smarter than me. They got it all figured out. But yes, it is a random draw which unit to inspect.
Maria says, so to clarify, landlords have to hire a private inspector for this. This is not a person that the city assigns. Correct for Denver.
Correct for Denver.
Yes. So yes, correct, Maria. So that's why Andy and CCI, them, other inspectors, you want to hire them to go help you out. What if I'm an owner occupant with an ADU rental in the backyard?
They want you to get that inspected.
Yeah.
So any ADU or a basement unit that you rent out, if it's a fully contained rental and it's rented for a long period of time, more than 30 days, Denver classifies that as a rental property. You have to get it inspected.
Yeah. And it's basically any income producing property, right?
Exactly.
Isn't that? I think because we were in that rule last year, and hey, if you're room by room house hack, that's an income producing property, right?
Yep.
So I guess you have to do, anything that brings in, even if I rented out a room by room house.
Now that's an interesting one. If you had room by room house, I'd call that multifamily because you have multiple tenants at one location and renting rooms. We'd come in and do one inspection on one room and the whole common area and common systems inspection.
Interesting. Okay. Lindsay says, I have a duplex with individual addresses. Is this multifamily?
If it's a duplex and it's connected, yes, it's multifamily.
Yeah. So I think got some questions here around the cost. We'll go into that. What's the cost for the rental inspection?
So market right now is $195 for rental inspections. And I do have a couple of discounts we'll talk about here shortly. For everybody who's spending time with us today, we want to make sure it's worth your time. So we do have a couple of those coming up.
Perfect. All right, so let's get into what information Denver wants. I think we'll get into, I got some questions in here too that are more property specific, so I'll start peppering those with you. So what does Denver want at the property level?
At the property level, Denver has, and I think we can look at this, we'll have links for it as well. This is your property checklist. Denver wants this. There's 25 items on there. The 26th item is egress. Your egress issues apply for every property built prior to 1991. Your egress question applies for everything built after 1991. If it was built prior to 1991, you're safe. We don't have to worry about egress issues per one of those Denver updates. This checklist, we cover water systems, electrical, fire safety, walls, roof, and foundation, and then a lot of general safety ones, right? So your trash, your pest control, utilities, safety, sanitary. The biggest things to take from this checklist, I'm going to walk you through what we see as the big ones. On the water section, water temps have to be 110.
Is this one of the links up here for the checklist?
Is that? Yes. So what you just, we've got the guidebook, and the guidebook is for
I
these.
want to pull up the checklist. If it's easy, I might just pull that up, right?
It should be.
Is that the checklist right there?
Yep.
Perfect. I'm just going to share this on the screen too while you're chatting about it.
Okay. So those 26 items, there is a now 18, there is a 20-page, 21-page front and back guidebook about it. If you don't want to read this whole thing, just call us and ask us questions. We know what front, back, and the rest of it. But they built this to explain.
I'm going to ask you questions. I'll hire you to take care of it for me.
But okay, I like the way you think, right? Hire the expert because everybody's time's worth a lot more than we know, right? So you got to have water temperatures. Your toilets shouldn't leak. You've got to have no mold in your bathrooms. Here's a big one. This is one of our top 3 fails. On your water heaters, they have to have a pressure and temperature release valve.
So we're talking 2.4 on here.
Yep. And it has to drain into a drain. So you've got to have that pipe that goes from the valve down into a drain. One of the biggest things that we see is they don't have that pipe. That's a big failure. It's a little bit of PVC, but most rental properties don't have it. That's one to watch before we come out and do that inspection and make sure to have somebody put that in there.
All right. So water heater with the pressure relief valve.
Yep.
One of 3 common failures points.
Yep.
All right.
Let's move into the electrical. The important things here, right? GFCIs in the bathroom. This is our right up there. This is our second of our top 3 fails.
Not surprised.
Here's the rules on that. You have to have a GFCI on that circuit. So if your bathroom also shares some outlets in a bedroom or whatever, your GFCI might not be in the bathroom. They might be on that circuit somewhere else. Our guys know how to look for that and to inspect that.
As long as it's on the circuit,
exactly,
it passes.
Yes.
Okay.
But there is no age requirement on this. There is no, I don't have it. Can I get grandfathered? City of Denver wants every single bathroom has to have a GFCI.
So all the 1911 duplexes.
Got to do it.
Okay.
Got to do it. Really important if you have an older property and you know that you don't have it, to get those things done on the front end before we come in and then you fail your inspection.
Okay. So I want to back up here. We got a question here for Matthew. Can the water heater drain line go to a pump?
Yeah, like a sump pump that goes out. Yeah, I think you could put that down into a sump pit.
Okay.
Yeah. As long as there is a way for that water to not flood your basement, I think we would be fine with that.
Okay.
Now, I think my team is watching. I know that one of them should be watching. If that's wrong,
please clarify for us.
I'm sure my phone will light up with that. I'm pretty comfortable saying if it drains into an area where water can be evacuated from your property, that's acceptable.
A furnace condensation pump.
Yeah, because that'll then pump it outside too. Now the only thing to and I don't want to get too technical here, a lot of those furnace condensation pumps, they're built to handle a real small amount of water. So if that release valve goes and you have a bunch of water, that's probably not the best solution.
Okay.
That's my on the spot answer to that. Let's keep on electrical.
Yes.
If we go there and we say unsafe extension cords, makeshift wiring, well, what's that mean? One of the biggest issues is they don't want to see extension cords going across thresholds. So you can't have it wired up and over a door or duct taped below a door. They really want to make sure that that you have enough electrical outlets there and they are safe and they are grounded for your tenants. Also, if you're missing faceplates, and I know if you're like me or your handyman is like me, I go to put the faceplate on and I can't find those little screws. So I'll put it up there and maybe I put a little dab of caulk on the back to make sure that it sticks and it falls off. That's a violation because you've got exposed wiring in there. Denver really wants these to be safe for our tenants, our renters, and our renters' kids. If we don't have a faceplate on there, that's another pretty clear violation.
Okay.
Let's move into our number one failure. And our number one failure is going to be fire safety. But Chris, how could that be the number one failure? Everybody knows you need smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors, right?
Yeah.
Right. Denver has put in some new requirements here, especially in the multifamily. There has to be a smoke alarm in every single bedroom. Every bedroom, no questions asked. Every single bedroom. Top floor, middle floor, basement. Every bedroom needs one.
Okay.
Within 15 feet of every bedroom, you need another smoke alarm and a carbon monoxide detector. So if you've got bedrooms on the top floor, bedrooms in the basement, you're going to need 2 CO detectors within 15 feet of each one of those. And then here's another one. Fire extinguisher in the kitchen. If you've got a partial kitchen in the basement, but you've got heating elements, you need another fire extinguisher in the basement. So I've had a bunch of rental properties in the past, and I can't tell you the amount of times I would go back and that fire extinguisher is on their boat or in their RV or outside by the grill. None of those count. It's got to be near the kitchen. Our number one fail, smoke alarms. Either they're too old, they're not there, or they don't have batteries. So one of the...
Not surprised by that.
Right? One of the most common things, and we'll get to some hints later, when you tell your tenants that we're coming to do an inspection, you might want to ask them to put those batteries back in the smoke alarms.
Yes. Please put batteries in there. All right. Lots of good questions in here. I'm going to pause on here, and we'll come back. We got some earlier ones as well. We'll catch all those guys. Ronald says, can the smoke alarms for each bedroom be the cheaper battery-operated smoke alarms or require the 10-year lithium batteries?
They just have to be within 10 years. They can be the cheaper ones. Now, CCI does, we'll get to another special deal later, right? We do offer a fire safety bundle, and we only use those 10-year sealed ones. They are more expensive, but I also know you're going to save more money in labor trips to go out there and fix it when it starts beeping at 2 a.m. and your tenants call you pretty upset by spending the extra 10 or 15 bucks to get the 10-year sealed. And I think 10-year sealed smoke alarms are averaging like 24, 25, 26 bucks. And the cheapies are like 10, right? So is $10 worth you not having to go out and change batteries? That's a you answer.
Yep.
For me, yes. Makes absolute sense.
For the furnace enclosure, does a single-family home need to have a fire-safe metal door? Asked Garrett.
So there was a lot of discussion on this.
I remember this was a big topic last year.
It was. The door needs to have a fire rating on it. It doesn't have to be a metal fireproof door. And I knew this was going to come up, and I asked my team for the answer.
He's flipping through some notes here to, I think, get the exact definition.
Yeah.
We'll play the Jeopardy music here for you.
You should. I would definitely fail this.
No pressure on you.
Do I have to frame it in a question?
If you want to win, you do.
Wow. So the big deal here, it doesn't have to be metal, but it has to be a 1-hour fire resistive material. You can get those in a couple of different, usually it's a solid core door. What doesn't pass, that we see a lot, and especially in older houses, is that door with a vent cutout.
Yep.
And that is only if it's used for habitable purposes. So if you've got a basement and that door goes to a hallway, you're cool with the vent, doesn't have to be your fire rating. If it goes to a bedroom, if it goes to a common area, if it goes to a habitable space, then you do have to make sure it has that 1 hour fire rating.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And that doesn't apply for electric furnaces. That only applies if you have a gas furnace.
All right. I'm going to go through a couple of questions on here. Any requirement on the size of the extinguisher, of the fire extinguisher? And does it have to be mounted or hidden under a cabinet? Placement?
You can put it under the cabinet. That'll work. You can put it on top of the fridge as long as it'll stay there. And there
so no placement as long as it's in the kitchen.
Nope, got to be just in the kitchen. And then there are a couple. It's got to be within 30 feet of a primary cooking equipment, right? So you might actually even be able to put it in the pantry.
Okay.
And then they've got to be any rating considered compliant for single family homes. Go to Home Depot, buy the $25, $30 one. Don't get the super tiny one. Just get one that is going to be able to handle it, because it's a lot cheaper for your tenants to use that than to do a whole fire claim, right?
Yep. Great. Couple of random questions here. If an entity, like an LLC, owns a single family home, can the seller make the buyer a member of the LLC to avoid a new inspection? Or if it were in my name and want to put a property LLC, do I need a new inspection? Sounds like the member, I don't know, that sounds like kind of a pain in the butt.
So I love those questions, because you've tickled the part of my brain that normally gets going, right? And I asked Denver a lot of these questions early on. Didn't get a whole lot of clear answers. What I got was, we want to know who has beneficial ownership in each one of these. If you're moving it from your name into an LLC, I don't think you require a new one. You would just update your license and maybe say that you've switched that. If you're going to sell the property and you're conveying it to somebody else, I don't know if you'd make them a member in an LLC, but you might sell membership interest in an LLC. If the LLC stays the same, because the LLC owns the property, that's a great question. I don't know how to answer that because I haven't gotten a straight answer from Denver.
Huh.
Interesting, right?
Yeah. All right. So some gray area around
I think
selling
so. If you want to
entity one LLC.
If you want to be safe, you probably ought to get it. But I think you've got some defensible thing to say that the actual ownership of that property has stayed in the same LLC. But I'm sure that Denver will come back and say that's trying to skirt around the rules. So to be safe, I would do it anyway.
So here's an interesting comment from Karen. The inspector that inspected her duplex required her to change out the smoke detectors with lithium batteries, even though the smoke detectors I had were working and had batteries. The inspector's reasoning? Lithium batteries cannot be removed.
So he wanted you to switch out the entire ones, right?
Yeah, like she had the cheaper working ones. You know, they work, but they had the removable 9-volt battery in there. When did you get that inspected, Karen? Drop the date in there, if you don't mind.
That's not a 10-year seal. That is the lithium battery. So they do want you to do it, and there is mention of that in here. You can buy the cheapies, but put the 10-year lithium batteries in them, right? The actual guidebook says detectors must be less than 10 years old or the maximum life expectancy of the device. Whenever battery-operated units are allowed, detectors should have the 10-year lithium batteries. Combination smoke carbon monoxide must satisfy requirements for one or both type of detectors. So you do need those 10-year batteries. You can put those batteries in the cheaper units.
Oh, so you do need a 10-year battery. Okay. So yeah, so this was just back in December.
Yeah, perhaps. You don't need the 10-year sealed ones, and that's what if the inspector said you need a 10-year lithium because it can't be removed. It's not quite accurate. You can put a 10-year lithium battery into an older unit, or you can buy the 10-year sealed lithium battery unit.
Jeez. All right. A little nuance here. All right. I want to take a quick break from this checklist, and then we'll come back to here and I think we'll hit most of these questions. Since we are at this point, I want to come over. I see a bunch of questions here asking about pricing. And so I want to make sure we go and answer that pricing here, because you'll give us a high-level offer, or you'll tell us what it is, and you also have a very good offer that saves money, and in my view, hits the easy button. So
Right.
you tickle both of my happy bones. So tell our audience what the standard costs are, what you are doing at CCI.
So we're doing them for $195 for a single family residential unit. Denver's application fee for any time up till the end of this year is $25. So for everybody listening here, if you email at special@myccipro, you'll see this coming up.
Oops.
There you go. $25 off, so that way your application with the city of Denver's free. Part of the reason we want to do this is I want you guys to avoid the rush. 2 reasons. If you come up with an issue and you need to get a re-inspection, I want to make sure that you get your whole inspection done before you get crunch time. Number 2, I want you to avoid getting in that backlog of Denver and them not issuing you something for a long time. Number 3, it's just a lot easier to do it now. Here's the caveat. If we do an inspection today, you have 90 days from today to complete your app with the city. If you miss the 90-day window, Denver has a pretty hard rule. You have to get a new inspection. So we couldn't do your inspection today and you apply in December. This is really meant to say, we want you to go ahead and do that application today. The license for single family is $50 with Denver. So I want you to do that. I want you to beat that deadline. That $25 off is good till July 31st. And then we talked a lot about the most common fails, right? And that's the smoke alarms.
Yeah.
So what we did, the easy button. Here's how it goes when people call us up. They say, hey, I got a rental property. Somebody's been in there for 7 years. One of our first questions, how are the smoke alarms? I don't know. Do they have them? I don't know. Are the batteries in them? I don't know. Is there a fire extinguisher? There was. Well, have you put carbon or carbon monoxide in there? Yes. Is there a bedroom in the basement? Yes. How many carbon monoxide do you have? I don't know. So our easy button is our fire safety bundle. We base it off of bedrooms. And here's the deal. We don't know how many are working or how many are there or how many batteries. So the only way for us to do this fairly is we're going to come put a whole new package in, and we do that before we do an inspection. So if you have a 2-bedroom unit, you need 2 smoke alarms. And we only do the 10-year sealed. To our commenter's question here, the reason we do that is so that they don't remove the batteries. And
I like that aspect.
We want to do that because we're protecting you.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Protects everyone.
So your liability is not worth us trying to save $5 on a smoke alarm over here. So we only install the 10-year sealed batteries. We bring out a new carbon monoxide and smoke combo for the hallway and a new fire extinguisher. So for everybody listening here, our packages, we purchase the material, we go get it. We've got all of that. Instead of trying to figure out how to pass all the tax and all that, we just pay all the tax there. So our prices are $2 or $3 more than what Home Depot has. Here's a hint. If you need to go get all this, you probably have to drive to 4 or 5 Home Depots because all these supply chain issues, when we've run out of our stock and we've gone to Home Depots, it takes a day just to go find enough of the 10-year sealed ones. So they're a couple bucks more than Home Depot. And then we do it for a $59.99 is our install fee. Everybody listening today, if you email that special at myccipro, I'll cut that in half. So we'll do it for $30.
Cool. So
Here's your easy button. I don't know about you guys, but if I had somebody that would do 3 hours worth of my work for $30, I'd hire him to do 40 hours of my work.
yes.
It's also the way, and this goes to CCI as a whole, it's a way for us to make sure that we're taking care of some of your liability. We're giving your tenants what they need to be safe. I just don't think that this is an issue that we should try to skimp on or try to cut corners on. It's just too important for people.
I totally agree. Awesome. Thank you. So make sure you guys get that. You can email special at myccipro. Go to the website and we have their phone number on there as well. Call them up. Just mention this webinar or Chris Lopez and you'll get that really good value. All right. I want to go back here because I think we'll kind of spend a bunch of time going through this.
Let's go back.
Suzanne says, will we need the license as well? Yes.
Yes.
That's the inspection.
Yes.
The license is normal is $50.
Yes.
But Denver's saying it's $25 off.
$25 application fee, $50 license. That's why we're doing $25 off. So your whole application is paid for.
Yep.
So you'll need a $195 inspection and then a $50 license. And that's a great segue into this next one. I do want to touch egress one more time, Chris.
Oh, no, we need to. That's a very, very
Okay.
important thing. Should I go back? Go up to the checklist, right?
Yeah, either one.
I like the checklist.
On egress.
Oh,
There you
perfect. Section egress. Okay.
On egress, if you have a below grade unit, so this would be where you're renting the top of the house, you're renting the bottom of the house, or you're living upstairs, you're renting the basement.
Yep, we have a lot of investors who do that.
If you have an exit to the outside, your egress is taken care of. So if you've got an external stairway down to that basement, you have an outside interest, it meets egress requirements. If you have
So it doesn't have to be directly to the room, just to that floor?
to the basement unit.
To the basement unit directly,
Yes.
or just
To the basement unit directly. So
Okay.
if it goes in and then you've got to go unlock a different door, then you have that locked or sealed unit needs to have egress as well. So you'll
Okay.
need to put an egress window in if you don't have one. If you have, if you're renting out your basement, but they come in through the normal house and they go downstairs, you do need to have another form of egress if the home is newer than 1991. In that case, you'll also need it if there's 3 bedrooms down there. Each bedroom needs an egress window.
Okay. So I'm going to scroll up here. I know there are some questions on this. So, yeah, start dropping your egress windows questions. I know, this is always a common thing with properties out here. Someone had asked.
It was in the top 4 questions, I thought.
Yeah. So, yeah, Matthew, looking for clarification on a non-conforming basement bedroom in the single-family rental, specifically egress. So I think you answered.
So a non-conforming bedroom means without a closet, right?
Depends. I'm assuming clarify me means without an egress window.
Okay. For this rental ordinance.
And clarify on that for us, Matthew.
Yeah, on this rental, if it's got an exterior entrance, you don't need it out of that bedroom. If it's got interior entrance, you do need that out of its bedroom if it is newer than 1991.
So, okay, so I'm going to ask this a different way. So I'm thinking about all these, 1950s Denver homes I walk down, go down the stairs. Hopefully I don't have to lower my head so I don't bump the ceiling. Then they have the living room or common area and then 2 bedrooms off to the side.
Right.
And I go in those bedrooms, they have a window but no egress window. That would need an egress window, right?
No, because it's 1950.
1950, okay, before the date. Now, same scenario if it's a 1992 home, I go down there, they would require an egress window then?
Yes.
Was something special about 91?
There were some changes in code in 1991.
Oh, okay.
This is the other thing that that CCI myself, we a couple of the other inspection companies, we worked with Denver a lot to clarify these. In my role helping our multifamily clients, we really worked to clarify these egress issues. What it came down was 1991 was when those things were changed in code. That's where the date applies.
Yeah, so Matthew says, without an egress window. So I guess most important depends on the year, Matthew.
Yep.
Jorge, clarifying question, is 1991 included in the egress window rule, or is it after 1991? Oh, it's gonna.
Oh man, now you're getting me.
We may have to email you there for that specific.
Yeah, we may have to email everybody back out. I'm gonna say anything prior to 1991. So if it's 1990 and earlier, you're gonna get it. 1991 and older is probably when that change happened. So I'm gonna say if it's 91 and older, you do need egress.
91 and newer, right?
91 and newer.
Yeah,
Sorry. Yes,
okay.
thank you. Yeah.
No, that's perfect. I thought I knew what you're saying. Cool. Going back to your question on, we talked about your fee, some inspection fees here. Robert says, is there a re-inspection fee if you need to fix something? So assuming you come out, it's failed.
So a lot of our inspectors, a lot of the other inspectors doing this as well, there's some easy ones that we can look at and say, hey, that's your furnace, that's the change, this and that. We can get those based off of a picture. If they're some different violations, water temps, it does require us to come back out. So I think those are just on a case-by-case basis.
But when possible,
we're going to work with you because we don't want to bother your tenants and we want to, talk about an easy button. We don't think this should be brain surgery, right? So we want to try to make it as easy as possible. But there's just some that we do need to come out and see for ourselves. I don't think you want to hire an inspector that's integrity is questionable, right? That's what this whole process is about.
Yeah, I totally agree there. All right, so I think we got the egress clarified there.
The rest of this stuff Denver wants, let's cover it real fast. No pests, no rodent infestations. You got to have enough light for it to be safe. It's got to be sanitary. You can't have holes in the ceiling. You can't have holes in the roof. You can't have holes in the wall. I mean, it's amazing, right? Where can you have a hole? In your yard. The other stuff, here's the other big one. If there is chipping paint and the property is older, and now I'm getting all my numbers here, but if it's older than 1970 something, Denver does require us to test for lead paint. So get your properties ready. Make sure there's no chipping, peeling paint. That's the easiest way to make sure that we don't have to come in and do any lead test.
Yep. Regarding roaches, I have one unit with a roach problem, and we tried to eradicate. However, I feel that roaches eventually come from nearby units. So probably a condo complex, and yes, I have dealt with that.
So the way Denver writes it in here is you have to have a pest management system. You have to have it documented. You have to show that there's actually being things, or you're actually taking actions to address that, and that does satisfy the requirements.
Okay. Larry says, wasn't clear about the whole Inglewood thing. No, Inglewood does not require a licensing. No. The comment earlier is a lot of the other municipalities are watching what Denver does, and there'll be some that follow.
Yes.
Was the comment there, but currently right now there's no Inglewood inspections. Matthew, indoor, interior, exterior, or both for paint? Both, right?
Both.
Yeah, that's how it's, yeah. Great. This would be interesting. Investor here, Katie says, what if your HOA will not allow you to install an egress because it's causing damage to exterior, which is the HOA property?
That's a great one. If you email special@myccipro, I'd be happy to deal with Denver on that specific issue and get you an answer directly from them. Here's the other tip and trick easy button. You got a specific one like that, hire us to do it. We can come out, do your inspection, take the pictures. We'll go back, ask either for clarification or a variance or help you work through that.
Or just go out the middle of the night and, take a saw to it. Come on. They'll never know.
It'll be similar to a lot of issues that we had to face with HOAs not allowing access to common boiler rooms or to shared facilities in the multifamily inspection realm. Unfortunately, you may end up dealing with an HOA doesn't have a choice. They have to do it because this is new Denver ordinance. In that case, we'd be happy to work with getting you the information to explain to the HOA.
Here's an interesting one from another Chris. Glendale is in Denver County. Do properties in Glendale require the license?
I don't believe so, but here's an easy way. So if you go to denvergov.org, go to maps, /map, /best address. I'll give it to Jules. She can put it up on the screen here. It's that top email one. If you go there, you can actually plug in and look at your address. That'll tell you if you're in the city of Denver and you need this.
Okay, we'll put that link later. We'll send it out to you guys.
Or just shoot us your email address. We'll do it for you. If you email special@myccipro, we'll plug it in because we do work with Denver quite a bit. We'll plug it in. If there's any uncertainty, we'll shoot it over to them and get an answer directly from them for you.
Perfect. Cool. So anything else on this checklist right here at the moment?
No. What I do want to do is talk about 90 days. If you get this inspection done today, you have 90 days to apply for your license. If you don't do it within 90 days, you have to get a new inspection. Here's the shortcut. Here's your easy button on this one. You can apply for your license with a failed inspection. You've got a year to fix stuff. So I want to be real clear, right? If you know you've got an egress window issue, hire us. We'll come out. We'll do an inspection. We'll fail your inspection. You still want to go ahead and apply for your license. You've got a year to fix it. We'll come document the fix because we'd want to come out and take pictures and do that for you. You would then go in and update your your application with Denver.
Okay.
So don't wait until after you have it done, because here's the thing. When our inspectors get out there, you might fit in one of these other categories. You don't need that. And I don't want you to go spend, what are egress windows going for right now? $4,500 to $6,000?
Yeah.
I don't want you to spend $6,000 if you don't have to. I'd rather one of our inspectors come out and tell you. Seems like a really good use of $195.
I like it. So I got questions here. We got about 10 minutes left in the webinar, and we have a lot of stuff to go through. But I do ask one more question.
Go for it. Do it.
Suzanne's asked this a few times. I want to make sure I get to you. She says, if we are renting out our primary home as a midterm furnished rental, and we plan to live in it again next summer, will we need the license?
Is it being rented for 30 days or longer?
Medium-term rental, I would assume yes.
If it's longer than 30 days, yes, you need the license. If it's under 30 days, then there's a bunch of short-term rental requirements that Denver has too.
So if it's just a short-term rental, it goes under the short-term rules?
It goes under the short-term rules, and I'm not an expert at those rules because we don't have to go do those inspections. Yep. But there is a whole separate license and registration you have to do with short-term rentals in Denver.
Yeah.
Most places now.
Yeah, so to clarify, this Denver rental inspection is not the same as a short-term rental inspection.
It is not.
It is not the same as a Section 8 inspection.
It is not.
It is not the same as your standard home inspection.
It is
when
not.
you go buy a property. This is completely new and different.
Completely brand new and different in Denver. Been going on in Boulder. Different checklists, different inspections, but very similar in Boulder. Let's hit this ownership. I want to give you guys the benefit of what we've done. Easiest way to do this, email us, special@myccipro. We'll send you this tips and tricks list. I think, it's a whole one-page thing, right? Here's the thing. You have to go in and set up an account with the city of Denver in order to register your properties. You need one account. Then when you start to apply for your license, they're going to ask for your entity registration ID. That's what you get when you set up your account with Denver. It's not your EIN number. It's not your LLC registration. It has nothing to do with your entity or business stuff that you've done for your property. This is just what Denver gives you. That's the most common challenge we see when applying for licenses. Next, they're going to want to know anybody who owns 10% or more of your entity. If you've got a complicated ownership structure, you've got a whole bunch of owners, you've got all that, email us. I'm more than happy once again to put you in touch with somebody at Denver, and you don't have to wait for the, Chris, I forget what it is. Is it 411? It's not, is it 411? It's not 411. There's a City of Denver number that you can call and you can get placed on hold for hours and hours and hours so that they can not help you. I'm just kidding, but they can really not help you. Or you can shoot off an email into the ether and hope you get an answer, or email us. Let us do it because we do so many of these. We do have a couple of back channels, and this is literally what we do is we want to help. Yeah.
311 is what someone said in the comments. You were close. You had numbers so in there.
Close.
There were numbers.
The rest of this, just use the checklist that we got here. Literally, when you ask staff at Denver, they say, we've got, there's YouTube videos on this, or go watch this video, or go watch that video. And of course, they didn't put all the answers in one succinct one. So that's why we went ahead and did this for you. It'll give you everything that you need to know before you show up. The other tip, if you leave the application, click save, because if you just delete it, you got to start back at square one.
We've all been there and done that.
Right? All right, cool. So let's shoot to the next line here because I do want to get a couple of other things really important for our owners here.
We went through that offer.
Covered that.
Tenant communication.
Okay, this is really important. Almost every Colorado lease, and I know this because I've worked with all of the top landlord, property owner law firms, That's what we started with when I started CCI, right? I went to them and I said, how do I help protect your clients? You have a 72-hour notice provision in there, which means if you call us today and you say, hey, my tenants are gone tomorrow, you should go do an inspection. We can't, because you've got to give them 72 hours notice. So that's a really big one. Next one, animals. This came up. Ask me how I know, right? There are some birds that are very territorial. They're very, they will freak out. There's different parrots that are like that. If you have a particular tenant that has one of these things, ask them about it. Let us know. We really want to work with it. On dogs, outside, or put them in kennels.
Yeah.
If you've got cats that are escape artists, we just need to know. So when you let your tenant know, make sure to give us this information. We really want to help you. Next bullet point on here is also special needs. Now more so than ever, we've got renters that have maybe immunocompromised. Let us know. We'll show up with booties. We'll show up with masks. We'll do whatever we need to do to make this as easy as possible for your tenants. But that's all communication, right? So not only communicating with your tenant, but then making sure to call us so that we show up prepared for them. We're more than happy to work with hours, or we can't be there. Can you tell that smoke alarms are our number one failure? Remind them when you give them notice to put the batteries back in the smoke alarm.
Ugh.
And if they're not the 10-year lithium ones, either work it out with them to go do it, or drop them off some of those 10-year lithium ones so that we can pass them on the first one. The next one, here's the deal. Once you get your license, when you post this for rent, this is how Denver is checking. Every single family residential that's being offered for rent starting next January, if you don't have your license number in here, that's how they're going to find you and send you your penalty list and fine you. So just start getting into the habit of doing that now. As soon as you get your license, start putting that on all of your for rent offerings.
Okay.
Okay. We covered that.
Oh, this is something. Let's. I want to talk about your inspection reports, because this is something that really piqued my interest as we were originally connecting a couple months ago now. Just kind of the extra stuff you do.
All Denver wants is this filled out. There's a top sheet, cover sheet to this. That's all Denver wants, a fillable PDF. We don't believe that does enough for our clients. So we take pictures of all the items we inspect. So you're going to get a picture-based report. Why is that important? It's a snapshot in time. So Chris, I'm sure that this has never ever happened, right? But the worst case happens. We have a fire. We have an issue. We have a tenant who says this wasn't done, or this doesn't work, or any of those type of things. We're a third party that comes out and we take a snapshot in time of that rental property.
Yeah.
That is your CYA, right? That is your keep it in your back pocket, because if any of those things happen, and it's probably not an if, right? It's a when.
It's real estate.
When those things happen. Ooh,
there we go. Oh, trust me, anytime.
I like it.
When,
right?
not if, man.
When those things happen, you have a third-party picture-based report. This is also great if you're a property manager. You can pass these on to every one of your owners. Your owners then get a, oh, cool, they're taking care of this, or this isn't too bad, right? If you need, great tip for property managers, if you want us to add more pictures or to work on some of those reports, more than happy to work with you. We'd have to adjust maybe some of those fees or whatever for some of the software stuff on our end. More than happy to put those together if that makes your owners happier or it gets you a better product to give to them.
Oh, very cool.
Also, if you're a property manager, there are some different tips I can give you for registering your different owners and how to set it up with Denver. We work with some of the largest property managers now of single family. And our client, who handles over 400 in Denver, she picked us last year way ahead of time just because of how we worked with her to help all of her clients get this done in a very streamlined process.
That's great.
Right.
And then body
last
cams.
one.
This was very surprising to me.
So, especially with our multifamily clients, it's really, really important that our inspectors have a record of the inspection and have a record of what they did and didn't do, because I'm sure this has never happened to anybody in real estate. Someone goes into that property to do something and your tenant calls you later and says, Grandma's pearls are gone. This is another CYA. It's to protect you. It's to protect us. And it's also so that we can go back and say if we missed something. I'll give you a case in point. When we were slamming and jamming and doing everything back in December, there was a client that said, I have GFCIs. I swear I've got GFCIs. It's in the bathroom. And our inspector didn't catch it. We were able to go back real fast, go, you're absolutely right. You sure do. Change that report and pass them. So those body cams, it's important that we wear them. It's for our people's safety. It's for your tenants' safety. Things to note on here. We don't keep the footage. It's only 90 days. And then the only way for anybody to access that other than us as an internal is with a court order for it. Okay. And that's to protect you as an owner. What we don't want is in this footage being requested 5 years from now on some weird property dispute.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right.
A lot of privacy concerns around there. This is great. So I know a lot of people are having to hop off here, so we will wrap up. We'll definitely send all the notes here as well.
I do want to hit one more big slide. Go to this next one.
Oh, I want to talk about this too, because as we mentioned earlier, if you're buying a rental and you're doing an inspection on there, like you always should do if you buy a house, don't waive them. Do the inspection.
Yep.
Do the rental. You guys can do both.
We can do both. So here's the note. I believe in complete home inspections. Hopefully you've gotten a sense today that CCI, we want to help you through the entire process. Same thing when you're buying a house. I don't believe you should get half the facts, right? Why get an inspection but not pull a radon or not do a sewer scope, right?
Always do them.
Trying to save the extra little bit of money that a lot of inspectors charge you down. I think that's the wrong time to do it. Lucky enough, I own the company. So what we did was we built complete home inspections. We wrapped it all into one price at $675. That's got your sewer scope. That's got your radon test. It's got your infrared thermography report. It's got WDO inspection. What the heck is a WDO inspection? Wood destroying organisms. Yes, there are two, there's at least one, and I think there's 2 termites that actually live in Colorado. I've been here for 40 plus years and I didn't believe that. I was wrong. I lost that bet. We do everything included for $675. The only thing that changes on that is size of a house. If it's over 4,000 square feet, there's a little bit of a price adjustment. Everything included $675 saves most of our clients over $500. If you get a home inspection because you're buying a property to turn it into a rental, I'll include your rental inspection in this. I was going to say don't tell everybody, but it's okay to tell everybody. Just make sure you use that email address, special@myccipro, or if you call in, use Chris Lopez's name for that.
Yeah, so this is an awesome Andy. And like I really like, obviously you got the systems around doing the rental inspections, which is phenomenal. So everyone out there, reach out to Andy and his team with questions,
Yep.
Then probably just hire him to go take care of it for you. And then I also really like the inspection side as well, where you talked about like the cost savings, which is always nice. For me and all of our clients, it's more about, hey, it's one, I have to coordinate with you versus 3 or 4 other people for,
Right.
Hey, doing a sewer scope or doing this. So I like how it can cut down on coordination and time along with saving some money here.
Time's of the essence, I think, especially as the market changes a little bit. You need to get that information. You need to get that data. And we also have to do some time things. So like you said, if you got to get 6 people into a property, that gets pretty challenging sometimes.
Oh, yeah. All right, guys. So we're a few minutes over here. Thank you, Andy, for coming here. Thank you for spending some time with us. Everyone out there listening and watching, thank you, guys. We appreciate it. I see lots of great comments in here. I see some questions as well. I'll share these with Andy and his team so they can hopefully follow up with you guys as well. But of course, reach out to Andy and CCI if you need a question. Email them, special@myccipro. There's a phone number. Mention my name to help get those discounts. But we'll be doing more webinars or podcasts with you. You're a wealth of knowledge, which I very, very much appreciate because you've done thousands of hours. I get to spend a couple hours with you and benefit from that. So Andy, thank you. Andy's team at CCI. I know there's a team behind you as well. Thank you guys for all the support and helping out with the questions here. Very appreciative of it, my man.
All right. Look forward to helping you. If we can, we're here to help.
Great. Everyone, we'll see you next time.